Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believed that true self-discovery requires us to confront our inner darkness, the shadow. Ignoring it only gives it more power over us, but facing it can lead to transformation, wisdom, and wholeness. In this video, we will explore why embracing your darkness is essential for personal growth and how Jung's insights can guide you on this profound journey. Carl Jung defined the shadow as the unconscious part of our psyche that holds all the aspects of ourselves that we deny, repress, or refuse to acknowledge. These can be negative traits such as anger, jealousy, greed, or selfishness, but they can also be unexpressed potential, hidden talents, and repressed desires. The shadow is formed throughout our lives as we conform to societal expectations, family values, and cultural norms. From a young age, we learn what is considered acceptable behavior and what is frowned upon. To fit in and be loved, we suppress the parts of ourselves that do not align with these expectations, pushing them into the unconscious. However, just because we ignore these aspects does not mean they disappear. Instead, they live in the depths of our mind, influencing our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in ways we do not consciously recognize. Jung believed that every individual has a shadow, and the greater the effort to deny it, the more power it holds. When we refuse to look at our darkness, it grows stronger in the unconscious, acting as a hidden force that shapes our lives. The shadow does not only consist of what we perceive as bad, but also contains the raw, untamed energy that, if properly integrated, can lead to greater creativity, passion, and self-awareness. Many people fear their own darkness because they associate it with shame, guilt, or a loss of control. However, suppressing these elements does not make them go away. Instead, it creates a division within the psyche, leading to inner conflict and tension. Jung saw the shadow as a gateway to true self-understanding. It is through the confrontation with our darkest elements that we can unlock the deeper truths about ourselves. Without this confrontation, we remain fragmented, operating only from the parts of ourselves that feel safe and acceptable, while leaving behind the raw authenticity that makes us whole. Facing the shadow does not mean indulging in destructive behaviors, but rather becoming aware of these hidden elements, accepting them, and learning to integrate them into our conscious lives. Only through this process can we move toward wholeness, balance, and genuine self-mastery. When we suppress our shadow, it does not simply fade into oblivion. It seeks expression in indirect and often destructive ways. One of the most common manifestations of the shadow is projection, where we disown our repressed traits and see them in others instead. For example, if someone represses their own tendency towards selfishness, they may become obsessed with accusing others of being selfish. If they suppress their own anger, they may find themselves frequently encountering aggressive people, unaware that their own unresolved rage is attracting these situations. Projection allows us to avoid acknowledging the shadow within ourselves by externalizing it onto the world around us. This creates a distorted reality where we believe that the problem lies outside of us rather than within. Another way the shadow manifests is through self-sabotage. Unacknowledged fears, insecurities, and limiting beliefs hidden in the unconscious can cause us to undermine our own success and happiness. Someone with a deeply ingrained fear of failure, for example, may unconsciously avoid opportunities that could lead to success, procrastinate on important tasks, or create conflicts that prevent progress. The shadow can also manifest in destructive habits, addictions, or compulsive behaviors that seem to have no clear explanation. These are often driven by unresolved inner conflicts that have been buried in the unconscious rather than addressed directly. Ignoring the shadow also leads to emotional turmoil. Suppressed emotions do not disappear, they fester beneath the surface and erupt when triggered. Someone who represses their sadness or vulnerability may experience sudden bouts of depression or unexplained anxiety. Those who suppress their anger may have uncontrollable outbursts or passive-aggressive tendencies that damage their relationships. Jung emphasized that what we resist persists. What we refuse to confront in ourselves will continue to influence our lives in increasingly harmful ways. Furthermore, an unintegrated shadow limits personal growth and fulfillment. When we deny parts of ourselves, we also deny our full potential. The shadow contains not only our darkness, but also the power and vitality that come with embracing all aspects of who we are. Many of the qualities we admire in others, confidence, passion, resilience may actually be buried within our own shadow, waiting to be reclaimed. Without confronting this part of ourselves, we live half-lives, disconnected from our true nature and unable to step fully into our purpose. Jung warned that failing to integrate the shadow can even lead to collective consequences. When entire societies refuse to acknowledge their darkness, it manifests as widespread fear, division, and scapegoating. History is filled with examples of how repressed collective shadows have erupted in the form of war, persecution, and social unrest. On an individual level, refusing to face our own darkness keeps us trapped in cycles of pain and illusion. True transformation begins when we take responsibility for what lies hidden within us, bringing it into the light of awareness and working to integrate it into our conscious lives. The journey of facing one's darkness is one of the most profound and challenging tasks a person can undertake. It requires deep self-reflection, emotional honesty, and the willingness to confront the hidden aspects of the psyche that have long been ignored or denied. Many people avoid this process because it is uncomfortable, painful, and often destabilizing. However, true personal growth and transformation cannot occur without acknowledging and integrating the shadow. Jung believed that the path to wholeness requires us to engage with our unconscious mind, uncovering the parts of ourselves that have been buried in the depths of our psyche. This process, though difficult, is essential for achieving inner balance, self-acceptance, and ultimately, a more authentic and fulfilling life. The first step in facing the darkness within is developing self-awareness. Many people move through life unaware of how their unconscious influences their actions, thoughts, and relationships. They may find themselves repeating harmful patterns, struggling with emotional turmoil, or reacting irrationally to certain situations without understanding why. Becoming aware of the shadow means observing these patterns without judgment and asking deeper questions about their origins. Why do certain people or situations trigger strong emotional reactions? Why do we feel drawn to or repelled by specific qualities in others? What fears, desires, or past wounds might be hiding beneath our everyday consciousness? By examining these aspects of ourselves with curiosity rather than avoidance, we can begin to uncover the hidden forces that shape our inner and outer worlds. One of the most effective ways to engage with the shadow is through honest self-examination and introspection. Practices such as journaling, meditation, and deep self-inquiry allow us to explore the emotions, thoughts, and memories that we typically suppress. Writing down uncensored thoughts and feelings, no matter how uncomfortable they may seem, can reveal hidden fears, resentments, and desires that we have been unwilling to confront. Meditation and mindfulness help us observe our internal world without immediate reaction, allowing us to recognize our unconscious patterns without being consumed by them. Shadow work is not about judging ourselves harshly or condemning our imperfections, but about developing a compassionate awareness of the complexities within us. Another essential aspect of facing our darkness is recognizing the ways in which we project our inner conflicts onto others. Projection is one of the most common defense mechanisms of the human psyche, allowing us to disown the qualities we do not want to acknowledge within ourselves by attributing them to others. If we repress our own anger, we may see others as aggressive and hostile. If we deny our own selfish tendencies, we may constantly accuse others of being self-centered. If we reject our own need for love and validation, we may dismiss those who seek attention as weak or needy. By becoming aware of our projections, we can begin to take responsibility for our inner world instead of blaming external circumstances. Dream analysis is another powerful tool for uncovering the hidden aspects of the psyche. Jung believed that dreams serve as messages from the unconscious, revealing symbols and narratives that reflect our deeper truths. The figures that appear in our dreams, particularly shadowy or frightening characters, often represent the disowned aspects of ourselves. By paying attention to recurring themes, symbols, and emotional responses in our dreams, we can gain insight into the unresolved conflicts within us. Engaging with these dream images through active imagination, a technique Jung developed, allows us to dialogue with these hidden parts, giving them space to express themselves rather than remaining suppressed. Embracing our darkness also involves confronting past wounds and unhealed traumas that may still be influencing our present lives. Many of the aspects we repress stem from childhood experiences where we learned that certain emotions or behaviors were unacceptable. If we were taught that expressing anger led to rejection, we may have buried our rage deep within, only for it to manifest later in passive-aggressive tendencies, chronic resentment, or explosive outbursts. If we were shamed for showing vulnerability, we may have developed a hardened exterior, unable to connect deeply with others. Healing requires revisiting these wounds with self-compassion, allowing ourselves to feel the emotions we once suppressed, and giving ourselves the validation and understanding that may have been missing in the past. Another vital part of integrating the shadow is accepting that darkness is not inherently evil or destructive. Many people fear their own negative emotions, believing that acknowledging anger, jealousy, or resentment will make them worse. However, ignoring these emotions only gives them greater control over us. When we bring them into conscious awareness, we can understand their purpose and channel them in constructive ways. Anger, for example, can be a source of empowerment when properly understood. It can help us set boundaries, stand up for ourselves, and address injustices. Fear can be a guide, signaling where we need to grow or where we are holding ourselves back. Even our most destructive impulses hold valuable insights when examined rather than repressed. One of the greatest challenges in facing the shadow is overcoming the fear of what we might find. Many people avoid this work because they are afraid of discovering aspects of themselves they do not like. However, the shadow is not something to be eradicated or defeated. It is a part of us that needs to be understood and integrated. Jung emphasized that we are not meant to eliminate our darkness, but to bring it into balance with our conscious self. Wholeness comes not from being purely good, but from embracing both our light and dark aspects, allowing them to coexist in harmony. The process of facing our darkness is ongoing and requires patience, courage, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. It is not a one-time event, but a lifelong journey of self-discovery. As we continue to engage with our unconscious, we become more in tune with our true selves, more authentic in our relationships, and more capable of navigating the challenges of life with wisdom and resilience. Instead of being controlled by hidden fears and unresolved conflicts, we gain the ability to respond to life consciously and intentionally. Jung believed that the path to wholeness is the path of individuation, the process of integrating all aspects of the self into a unified whole. This requires acknowledging not only our virtues, but also our flaws, not only our strengths, but also our vulnerabilities. Through this journey, we become more complete, more self-aware, and more capable of experiencing life in its fullest depth. While the journey into darkness may seem daunting, it is the only way to truly know oneself. Only by embracing our darkness can we step into the light of self-realization, wisdom, and genuine personal power. The process of shadow integration is often compared to the ancient practice of alchemy, the mystical transformation of base materials into gold. Jung used alchemy as a metaphor for psychological and spiritual growth, describing the journey of self-discovery as a process of transmuting the raw, unconscious aspects of the psyche into wisdom, self-awareness, and inner balance. Just as alchemists sought to refine and purify base metals, we must refine and integrate our inner darkness to unlock our full potential. This process requires patience, courage, and a willingness to face the unknown depths of our inner world. The first stage of shadow integration is acknowledgement. Many people spend their entire lives running from their darkness, afraid to confront the uncomfortable truths buried within. However, transformation cannot begin until we shine a light on what has been hidden. This means accepting that within us exist qualities, emotions, and desires that may not align with the image we have built of ourselves. It requires the humility to admit that we are not purely good, not entirely in control, and not always the person we wish to be. This does not mean that we are bad or broken, but rather that we are complex beings, with both light and dark aspects that must be reconciled. One of the key steps in shadow work is emotional integration. Many of the emotions we suppress, anger, sadness, envy, fear, do not disappear. They simply sink into the unconscious and resurface in destructive ways. When we ignore our anger, it can turn into passive aggression, resentment, or sudden explosive outbursts. When we suppress sadness, it may manifest as numbness, depression, or chronic dissatisfaction with life. Instead of allowing these emotions to unconsciously dictate our behavior, we must bring them into awareness and allow ourselves to fully experience them. This does not mean acting on destructive impulses, but rather sitting with these emotions, understanding their origins, and finding healthy ways to express and release them. A powerful tool for this work is self-inquiry. When strong emotions arise, instead of pushing them away, we can ask ourselves, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Where does it come from? Is it connected to a past wound or an unmet need? By investigating our emotions rather than suppressing them, we begin to understand their deeper significance. Often, what we perceive as negative emotions are signals from the psyche, guiding us toward unresolved issues that need our attention. If we listen to these messages rather than resist them, we can gain valuable insight into our inner world. Creative expression is another powerful way to engage with the shadow. Jung believed that art, music, writing, and other forms of creative work could serve as bridges between the conscious and unconscious mind. When we create without censorship, allowing our inner world to flow freely, we may uncover aspects of ourselves that were previously hidden. Shadow themes often emerge in dreams, fantasies, and artistic expression, offering us a glimpse into the depths of our psyche. By engaging with these creations rather than fearing them, we can bring unconscious material into conscious awareness, transforming it into something meaningful and enlightening. Another critical aspect of shadow integration is reclaiming suppressed strengths. The shadow is not only a repository for negative traits, but also for the aspects of ourselves that we have abandoned due to fear or societal conditioning. Many people suppress their confidence, assertiveness, passion, or creativity because they were told these qualities were unacceptable in childhood. Someone who was repeatedly criticized for being too loud may have learned to silence themselves, even when they have valuable things to say. Someone who was discouraged from taking risks may have buried their adventurous spirit, leading to a life of stagnation and regret. By re-examining the qualities we have disowned, we can reclaim the parts of ourselves that make us whole. Projection is one of the most revealing ways our shadow manifests in daily life. When we feel intense dislike or admiration toward others, it is often because they embody aspects of ourselves that we have suppressed. If we feel irritated by someone's arrogance, it may be because we have disowned our own confidence. If we envy someone's success, it may be because we have neglected our own potential. Recognizing projections allows us to take ownership of these qualities rather than externalizing them onto others. Instead of resenting what we see in others, we can ask, how does this reflect something within me? What lesson is this showing me about myself? By taking responsibility for our projections, we turn them into opportunities for self-awareness and growth. Healing past wounds is also an essential part of shadow work. Many of the aspects we suppress stem from childhood experiences, where we learned that certain emotions or behaviors were unsafe or unacceptable. If a child is shamed for expressing anger, they may grow up believing that anger is inherently bad and suppress it at all costs. If a child is made to feel guilty for having needs, they may learn to ignore their own well-being to please others. These wounds shape the way we see ourselves and interact with the world, often leading to patterns of self-sabotage and emotional repression. By revisiting these wounds with compassion, we can begin to heal and integrate the parts of ourselves that were once rejected. Forgiveness, both of ourselves and others, is another important element of shadow integration. Many people carry guilt, shame, and resentment for past mistakes, holding on to these emotions as a way of punishing themselves or protecting themselves from further pain. However, true transformation requires releasing the burdens of the past. Forgiveness does not mean excusing harmful behavior, but rather choosing to let go of the weight that keeps us trapped in suffering. By forgiving ourselves, we acknowledge that we are imperfect, evolving beings capable of growth and change. By forgiving others, we free ourselves from the chains of resentment and reclaim our energy for healing and self-discovery. The process of integrating the shadow is not easy, nor is it a one-time event. It is an ongoing journey that unfolds throughout life, requiring constant awareness and self-reflection. There will be times when the darkness resurfaces, when old wounds are triggered, and when we fall back into unconscious patterns. However, each time we face our darkness with courage and understanding, we reclaim a piece of ourselves, becoming more whole and empowered in the process. Ultimately, shadow work is about embracing the totality of who we are. The more we integrate our unconscious aspects, the more authentic, grounded, and free we become. We no longer have to hide behind masks or live in fear of our own emotions. Instead, we stand in our full truth, unafraid to be seen as we truly are. This is the alchemy of the soul, the transformation of fear into wisdom, pain into strength, and darkness into light. It is through this process that we unlock our greatest potential, stepping into a life of deeper meaning, self-awareness, and inner harmony. The journey of becoming whole is the path of individuation, a term Carl Jung used to describe the process of integrating all aspects of the self into a unified, harmonious existence. Individuation is not about perfection, but about embracing the totality of who we are, including the parts we have ignored, repressed, or deemed unacceptable. It is the process of becoming our true, authentic selves by consciously engaging with our inner world and allowing all aspects of our psyche to find their rightful place in our conscious life. This is a lifelong journey, requiring patience, self-reflection, and the willingness to face both the light and dark within us. For most people, life is divided between the persona and the hidden self. The persona is the mask we wear to fit into society, the image we present to the world to be accepted and validated. While the persona is necessary for navigating social life, it often comes at the cost of suppressing the deeper, more authentic self. Beneath the surface, the unconscious holds everything we have denied: fears, desires, unfulfilled potential, repressed emotions, and unresolved conflicts. Individuation is the process of bridging the gap between these two worlds, allowing the conscious and unconscious to coexist in balance. Becoming whole means stepping beyond the limited identity we have created for ourselves and embracing the complexity of our being. Many people define themselves by their achievements, relationships, roles, or social status. Yet these external identities do not encompass the full depth of who they are. The unconscious holds vast reservoirs of creativity, wisdom, and insight that remain untapped when we only engage with the surface level of our existence. By exploring the depths of the psyche, we discover hidden talents, unexplored potentials, and the true nature of our purpose. One of the most profound aspects of individuation is developing a relationship with the self, the deeper, eternal aspect of our being that transcends the ego. Jung described the self as the totality of the psyche, the guiding force that seeks wholeness and inner harmony. While the ego is focused on external validation, survival, and control, the self represents a higher state of awareness that seeks meaning, connection, and inner fulfillment. When we are disconnected from the self, life feels fragmented and lacking in purpose. We may chase material success, external validation, or fleeting pleasures, yet still feel an inner emptiness. Individuation is the process of aligning with the self, allowing its wisdom to guide us toward a more meaningful and fulfilling existence. One of the most significant obstacles to becoming whole is the fear of change. Many people resist transformation because it threatens the familiar structures of their identity. The ego clings to what is known, even if it causes suffering, because change requires stepping into the unknown. Individuation demands a willingness to shed outdated beliefs, release false identities, and embrace uncertainty. It requires trust in the process of self-discovery, understanding that true growth comes not from clinging to the past, but from evolving into who we are meant to be. Individuation also involves integrating the opposites within us. We often see ourselves in binary terms, good or bad, strong or weak, logical or emotional. Yet true wholeness comes from embracing both sides. The conscious and unconscious, masculine and feminine energies, logic and intuition, light and dark, all must be acknowledged and given space within us. When we reject parts of ourselves, we create inner conflict and division. However, when we embrace our contradictions, we become more balanced, adaptable, and in tune with the natural flow of life. This process also extends to our relationships. Many conflicts in relationships stem from unconscious projections, attributing our disowned traits to others instead of recognizing them within ourselves. Through individuation, we become more aware of our projections, allowing us to take responsibility for our emotions and reactions. Instead of blaming others for our frustrations or unmet needs, we look inward to understand what these experiences are revealing about our own inner world. This shift in perspective allows for deeper, more authentic connections, as we engage with others from a place of self-awareness rather than unconscious reactivity. Another essential aspect of becoming whole is developing a sense of purpose beyond personal desires and societal expectations. Many people go through life without questioning why they do what they do, following paths dictated by family, culture, or external pressures. However, individuation calls us to align with our deeper calling, the unique path that resonates with our soul's purpose. This does not mean abandoning responsibilities or disregarding practical concerns, but rather living in a way that is true to our inner values and aspirations. When we are aligned with our purpose, life becomes more meaningful and our actions feel more intentional. The process of individuation is not a destination, but a continuous unfolding. There is no final point where one becomes fully individuated, as the psyche is constantly evolving. Each stage of life brings new challenges and opportunities for self-discovery. What is important is not reaching an end goal, but maintaining a conscious relationship with the self, staying open to growth, and embracing the ever-changing nature of existence. Jung emphasized that individuation is not a path for the faint of heart. It requires courage to face the unknown, resilience to navigate inner conflicts, and humility to accept that we are always in a state of becoming. However, the rewards of this journey are immeasurable. As we integrate our shadow, align with our deeper truth, and embrace the totality of our being, we experience a profound sense of wholeness, authenticity, and inner peace. We become more in tune with ourselves, more connected to others, and more capable of living with a sense of purpose and meaning. Ultimately, becoming whole is the greatest gift we can give ourselves and the world. When we embrace our full selves, both light and dark, strengths and weaknesses, we move beyond fear and illusion into a state of true self-awareness. From this place of inner harmony, we no longer feel the need to seek validation from the outside world, as we are grounded in our own truth. We no longer live in fear of our darkness, as we have learned to integrate it as a source of strength and wisdom. We become free to express our authentic selves, to love without fear, to create without limitation, and to live with a deeper sense of fulfillment. This is the path of individuation, the path to becoming whole.